איפה הטלית שהבאתי לך? תקשיבי, מאוד רציתי לקנות, אבל לא יצא לי. אז אני משאילה לך. לא, לא חייבים, לא בא לך? אין בעיה. זה בסדר גמור. זה נהוג, אבל זה לא נהוג שנשים תקראנה מהתורה. אם כאילו זה משהו שמפריע לך. זה לא מפריע לי. זה לא מפריע לי בכלל. זה לא מפריע לי בכלל. אני גם אומרת דברים זה של נשות הכותל. יאללה, בוא נעשה את זה ביחד. יכולה לפחות להיות תודה לטקס שלנו. אני שמה את זה פה. בסדר, נטלית אורתודוקסית גם, כי זה מה שהיה לי. בדיוק מה שבא לך. כן, קחי את העטרה. יש קטע כזה שהוא להנפיח. כן, ויפה. עכשיו כל הקטע של הטלית, כמו שהרבי לא פה, הייתי עושה את זה להחליטה. כל הקטע של הטלית זה שהציציות מזכירות לנו את כל המצוות. ויש כל מיני מקומות בתפילה שאתה נורא כאילו לעטוף את כל הדבר הזה, וזה גם מזכיר לנו שאנחנו מחויבים לאיזושהי התנהגות יותר טובה, לאיזושהי התנהגות יותר טובה. אז אנחנו עושים את הדבר הזה כי אבות אבותינו, סתם לא אבותינו, רק אבותינו, זה פשוט עוזר לנו כאילו לחיות את החיים שאנחנו רוצים לחיות, לזכור, אוקיי? תגידי איתי ביחד, ברוך אתה אדוני. בזמרת יד ויהי לי ישועה עוזי וזמרתיה ותהי לי לישועה. From this week's Torah portion, Ozi is my strength, my effort, my desire, my will. And then Zimratya reminds me to open my heart, to surrender to the song that is sung through me. This is a practice taught by the composer of this prayer, Rabbi Shefagol, who teaches our need to balance between the two necessary parts of the prayer practice. Shabbat Shalom, B'nai Or, online and in the room. Welcome friends, family, and guests. I am beyond grateful to stand here in this moment to share this special Shabbat with all of you. I thought a lot about not being able to deliver these words in person, but from the screen. And it brought these powerful words from this week's Torah portion to my heart at every moment leading up to this one. I pray that whatever the outcome, we will be together in whatever way. What a journey we are on. We all have incredible stories to tell. This program, which has inspired us for 6 years, was born from the need to tell our personal stories of journey that reveal the voice and expression of women across generations, across the world. Our current climate has been so deeply challenging. We have often felt stressed, exhausted, and stretched sometimes beyond what we think is possible to overcome. It is important to note these challenges and these feelings we have. Certainly, this is an impetus to be grateful for our lives and for having good health. Through these challenges, we are learning our own resilience, our need for flexibility, and the ability to change quickly. We have understood that each one of us is responsible to care for every one of us. We also recognize our limitations and boundaries and learn that the only constant is change. Despite the infinite challenges, we know we are coming together because our community is filled with magnificent, resilient souls, eager to put their minds and hands forward to contribute, to share, to teach, and to inspire. I'm deeply grateful to all the people who are participating in this wonderful Shabbat prayer experience. The slides Hallie made for us and the beautiful program you've hopefully all received list the many voices we will share and we will embrace tonight. The program includes additional creative readings I send your way in hopes they can too awaken your minds to listen to the voices of women. Feel free to scroll through the program as we pray. This Shabbat also marks the time to remember and honor the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., who taught to pursue truth and justice and peace. MLK lived by example and helped to bring on change for equality. His message and this day are a constant reminder for us to know there is still work to be done. Racism still exists and egalitarianism is still a goal, hopefully not just a dream. Parashat B'Shalach is called the Shabbat of Song because central to it is Shirat Hayam. The Israelites crossed the sea, transitioned from slavery to freedom to redemption through song and dance. Miriam takes the timbrel in her hand and all are singing and dancing, fully embodied, receiving the gift of freedom. My dear friend and teacher, Cantor Lizzie Shamash, taught in her yoga class this week that this full release from bondage includes body and voice. It includes every voice. When we hear Shirat Hayam, we stand up, fully aware, fully awake, fully alert, fully embodied listening. We listen to our song, our own personal song, to arise. These verses were so important to the rabbis that they inserted this reading for Pesach and into our weekday liturgy. Cantor Shamash taught that we want to investigate how we can move from the constriction of Egypt and slavery in our mental state to a more expansive understanding of freedom. What does it feel like to cross the sea, and what is the true song that needs to emerge so that we personally and collectively find more freedom? This crossing is not a one-time experience. Our life is filled with quakes of various sizes, both voluntary and involuntary. What are these moments that propel us to be courageous and to cross? What does it mean to have freedom in mind, heart, and body? How can we trust it? Even when we find freedom, sometimes it's terrifying to go there, and we can become afraid. We are invited in this moment to open our eyes, to awaken, to listen deeply, and to enlighten one another. We are still on the journey, doing the essential work of crossing together. Martin Luther King has said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive hate, only love can do that." I am honored to invite our president, Mary Fernandez, to bring light and enlighten our hearts so we can journey together into Shabbat.
Each time that I read Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel's slender book, The Sabbath, I'm reminded of the myriad reasons that Shabbat is our holiest day and God's greatest gift to humanity. Rabbi Heschel teaches, quote, "The meaning of the Sabbath is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things, of space. On the Sabbath, we try to become attuned to the holiness in time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world." As a Jew by choice, I'm especially inspired by our custom that the female head of household ushers in our holiest day by lighting the Shabbat candles, often at the dinner table, surrounded by her family. What a powerful responsibility for the woman's voice to mark time, the most sacred of gifts that no human can change or control, to create shalom bayit, peace in the home, and by extension, peace in the world, and to remind us all that our own existence and that of our loved ones are eternal mysteries that we are commanded to celebrate together every 7 days. Shabbat Shalom.
To set the right kavanah, intention for tonight to be a prayer to awaken, to notice, recognize, and listen, to open and soften our hearts for one another, I invite everyone to join me in prayer, in the prayer for all beings, written by Zenju Earthlyn Manuel, who says this about themselves. I have gone through many gateways, but I'm neither monk nor nun nor priest. I'm neither Zen nor Buddhist. I'm neither teacher nor guide nor author. I am a dark seed of a lineage that has resisted annihilation for thousands of years. I am a voice from the great darkness of transformation, race, and constant birth and death. I am a collective voice that weeps and protests. I am the ever-abundant blackness and darkness that has given birth to everything. I am life from the first source of life. I am because we are. Please join us either with the slides on the screens or your program at home. For all beings, may all beings be cared for and loved, be listened to, understood, and acknowledged despite different views, be accepted for who they are in this moment, be afforded patience, be allowed to live without fear of having their lives taken away or their bodies violated. May all beings be well in its broadest sense, be fed, be clothed, be treated as if their life is precious, be held in the eyes of each other as family. May all beings be appreciated, feel welcomed anywhere on the planet, be freed from acts of hatred and desperation, including war, poverty, slavery, and street crimes. Live on the planet housed and protected from harm. Be given what is needed to live fully without scarcity. Enjoy life, living without fear of one another. Be able to speak freely in a voice and mind of undeniable love. May all beings receive and share the gifts of life. Be given time to rest, be still, and experience silence. May all beings be awake. Invite to the Bima, a wonderful rabbi.
The song of this Shabbat is, of course, the song of the sea, Shirat Hayam. We all know the line, at least a line from this song, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, who is like you, O wondrous God. But do we know the line also in the text, Adonai ish milchama? Adonai is a man of war. We could degenderize it a little bit, a warrior, but no, let's say a man of war. We like to talk about the freedom part, about the people going out and dancing in joy for freedom, but we sidestep parts of our tradition, talk about destruction that may even be misogynistic. It's in our text. And so how do we use these images, though? How do we transform them? How do we reread them so that we have more love, more justice, more freedom, rather than toxicity, rather than violence? If we only see God as Ish Milchama, the man of war, the warrior, the conqueror, but not as the words right before that, and at the end of the verse, the words we say is Adonai, the ineffable name of God, one that our rabbis say is the name of love and compassion. If we don't see those names, let those pop out of our texts. We only valorize triumph and might. But in our song, also, we balance this Ish Milchama, this name of domination, with the voice of Miriam, Moses' sister, leader of the people, the prophet, the singer. The voice of Miriam, the voice of women that we need to pull out of our text. Right now in the Jewish community, in our country, in our world, there's a reckoning happening. A few weeks ago, I spoke about a report from Hebrew Union College about systematic systematic, I'll say it this way, not hearing women's voices. Sexual harassment, abuse. This is just one example. So how this is an example of raising up the voices of domination and power and seeing that in our institutions. So how do we amplify the voice of Miriam and say, this is our tradition? Give this a new context to bring out the voices of everyone in our community, the voices of love and peace and compassion, which is the real name of God in our song. Friends, the time is now.
Oh We transition from Kabbalat Shabbat, welcoming Shabbat, into the Ma'ariv part of the service with a contemporary poem by a national Israeli poet, Leah Goldberg. Her words prepare us for prayer through recognizing the beauty all around us. Following this poem, if you are able and wish to, you may rise for the Barchu, our call to worship, which will immediately follow. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my days be as the ones before, less routine set my ways. Lamdeni Elohai, velei vehit palel. Lamed siftotai, bracha b'shir halel. Lamdeni Elohai, berech vehit palel. Lamed siftotai, bracha b'shir halel.
You rise, Barchu.
Come, come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Come, come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blessed. Blessed is the blessed one. Blessed is the giver of blessing. Blessed in this moment and every now to come. Blessed is the blessed one. Blessed is the giver of blessing. Blessed in this moment now and every now to come. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses us. Come all of you, come all of us.
עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריך הרבים.
It was a snowy February morning in 2021. My phone rang, and it was the HR department from my job of 20 years. I thought that they were going to call and let me know that my position had been restored. But instead, I was told it was eliminated. At that moment, I was filled with so many emotions. My first reaction was, what am I supposed to do for health insurance? I'm a single mom of two. One of my kids has significant and expensive medical needs. I thought about bills. How am I going to pay them? On the other hand, maybe this was a blessing. This job had changed a lot over the years. It was no longer a place I felt respected and heard. Even though I was feeling so much fear, self-doubt, anxiety, I had to keep on going. I spent the next few months trying to imagine where I could fit in,
I learned about the concept of turning your weaknesses into your strengths. Reaching out to people wasn't always easy for me, but I decided that I was just gonna reach out. I reached out to everyone I could, and I started to learn about the magic of networking. I was amazed as to how generous people were. I decided that I was going to start my own speech therapy private practice. Just thinking about that was synonymous with freedom for me, a path that gave me choices, but not an easy path. I immediately remembered my dad. He started his own business after surviving a plane crash in the 1960s. There were only 7 survivors. His job had let him go because of the way he looked due to his facial burns from the plane crash. I remember how inspired I felt by my father's resilience and his tenacity in the face of adversity. He named his company Highmark, and I wanted to honor and tap into his strength by naming my practice the same. As a speech therapist, one of the areas that I focus on in my practice is helping clients heal their voice. Having the ability to speak out can feel like becoming free. We have 2 vocal folds located on the top of our windpipe, and when the air rushes between them, they vibrate and create sound. If the muscles of the throat have too much tension, the voice doesn't resonate properly. When we are faced with too much stress and tension, the air can't flow through. Life's challenges can come in the way of voice production and feeling physically and spiritually free. I have felt that lump in my throat before I needed to cry, but the breath can help relax it. I am learning that this is the same in life, letting issues flow through, trusting the process, and not letting tension block our journey to feel more freedom. Finding our voice, our strong voice, isn't simple. It takes incredible courage and resilience, yet it is so important to be heard. This week, in Parashat Bishalach Shabbat Shira, we chant the Song of the Sea, the words we have adopted into our daily liturgy, praising God for our joyful freedom as the Israelites crossed the sea into dry land. The desert, symbolizing the expanse, may also symbolize the emergence from slavery to what may feel scary of a very unknown future. This Shabbat, we also recognize, acknowledge, and praise the accomplishments and leadership of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. To honor and remind us of the plight of the people of color in our country and worldwide, I invite you to share in the words of resilience and strength, either on our slides or in your program, Maya Angelou, Still I Rise. Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. Do you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, because I laugh like I got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from the past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I'm the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
In Hashki Venu, a prayer in our evening rite, we plead with God to please watch over us and guard us as we sleep, enabling us to rest peacefully and wake up again in the morning, restored to life. We pray for safety and protection from external dangers and for inner peace. This inner peace is not always easy. It's hard to attain it with all that life has been throwing at us. With our current pandemic, it has become even more difficult to overcome the feeling of stress and isolation. During this time of difficulty with COVID, I found out that my best friend, my 86-year-old mother in Florida, had breast cancer, and she needed to go through chemo and then surgery. My mom felt that she had lived a great life, and she was ready to give up. I was devastated. I begged her to please try the chemo for a few months and see if she could handle them, even though I knew that I wasn't going to be there in person to help her through it and give her support. I prayed that my mom's friends would provide her with the warmth, compassion, and caring that she so deeply needed. I was grateful to have the warmth and compassionate care from my Temple B'nai Or family that I've had all through the years. I recall at the time, I prayed to God to watch over my mom, my best friend, and to spread the canopy of peace, Sukkot Shalom, over her like a warm blanket. I asked that she be restored to healthy wakefulness and granted it tomorrow. And though I was very hesitant to say it, I was also asking that if she didn't awaken, for God to guard over her and move beyond this world guard over her move beyond this world and into her eternal life. My prayers for protection and comfort were answered in so many ways and taught me all that we need to really realize that we have it in our power to be a Sukkot Shalom for each other, a sanctuary made of kindness, compassion, and support. As we chant the words of Hashkivenu, may we gain inner peace knowing we are embraced by God, a loving community, and family who are there to offer comfort to help us overcome this pandemic and all the hardships that we're going to be enduring on our journey.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim L'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Hamidenu Shomreinu Uvros aleinu sukat shlomecha v'takneinu b'eitzah tova milfonecha v'hoshienu leman shemecha.
Both my parents had complicated relationships with religion. My father's mother was a devout Latter-day Saint, while his father was, well, I'll just say that he wasn't. In my mother's family, she was the youngest of 7, and the younger half of the kids went to church with my grandmother, who was a Methodist, and the older ones went to church with my grandfather, who was a Baptist. My grandfather used to say that the only difference between a Methodist and a Baptist was that Methodists were afraid of water. As a result, I was reared with no religion. In my family, Christmas was Santa Claus, and Easter was a frighteningly large bunny who brought chocolate. I had no religious education, none, except Jesus Christ Superstar. Forget that notion of civilization being built on the Judeo-Christian values. In my household, civilization depended on the preciseness of words, the Oxford comma and proper table manners. My best friends growing up were Catholic and Baptist and Jewish. I was nothing. They had frameworks in which to live. And while I had a moral and ethical upbringing, I wanted something more. I wanted traditions that lasted beyond the age where you no longer believed. When I told my father I was going to convert, he said in his most professorial voice, "To use that word implies that you were something before." My father was correct. Like I said, preciseness of words, which is why I describe myself as a Jew by choice. Becoming a Jew was a process. Before Jim and I were married, we joined a synagogue. We were so young, they did not even know what dues to charge us. We had regular meetings with our rabbi, we attended classes, and I even went to mikveh. And we went to services every Friday night. And one of the first prayers I learned was Vishamru. The melody was easy for me to remember, and the cantor sang it with such joy. To this day, it is his voice I hear in my head. Now, I've already admitted while standing on this bema that I am not the most adherent Jew. Shabbat is another aspect of Judaism that has waxed and waned through my life. I did attempt to make challah recently. It was delicious, but it looked more like focaccia. Right now, quite frankly, between Jim being retired and COVID, I often don't even know what day it is, let alone if it is Shabbat. What I do know is that Shabbat is the scaffolding, the very framework upon which the traditions I yearn for are built. And perhaps now, in these discombobulated times, is the opportunity for Shabbat to wax again, an opportunity for me to relax and reflect and mark our holiest of days.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורות ביני ובין בני ישראל כששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ השביעי וביום
These days, it's hard not to recognize that life is cyclical. I don't mean on a grand scale like the seasons or the life cycle, but mere patterns, sociological, psychological, habitual, positive, negative, a surge, a solution, a wave, then a lull. Well, over winter break, I went into a fairly negative physical cycle, sitting too long, eating too much, and then exercising too much to compensate. Repeat. I ended up with severe pain in my hip and low back, but I'm strong. I'm bodily aware. I teach fitness and yoga. I could handle it totally on my own. Self-diagnosed, stretch, but nothing was working. So when I got back to New Jersey, I went to my physical therapist, desperate to get out of pain.
I was sure she'd say that some muscle was in spasm from my intense cycle of sitting and exercising, but no. She said it was simply my breath and posture. I wasn't breathing fully, and I was tensing up too many muscles to maintain what I thought was good posture. In trying to control so much, do things just right, I got in my own way. I created my own pain. After she worked on releasing muscles that had gotten bound up, I asked what my homework should be, and she said, just let go. Meaning, let my low back relax rather than trying to sit up so straight. Let my belly muscles relax rather than try to hold my stomach in. Let my breath move into all parts of my torso. That last one is particularly ironic. 360-degree breathing. Of course, I knew how to do that. At least my mind did. But with all the stress cycles of the past few years, my body had forgotten. So I've been working on doing my homework, and I'd like to share it with you today. We all take breathing for granted, but there is so much power and grace in focusing on a full and complete breath. Spiritually, as we prepare to move into the Amidah, we chant the Adonai Sfatai so that breath passes our lips and we may connect to God in praise and gratitude more effortlessly. The breath moves in and out of the vessel of the body to uplift us and to ground us physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And we need both inspiration and release. In a time when life is more unpredictable, heavy, heartbreaking, and the only thing we can be certain of is uncertainty, we need the tools to reground and unload the burdens, to shed fears and judgments in order to see truth of the world beyond the temporary negative cycles. I invite you to stand if you are able, or sit upright, and take a moment to shift your weight forward and back until you feel even in your stance. Perhaps close your eyes in order to connect to the cycle of breath more effectively. As you inhale, imagine your feet rooting more evenly into the ground. As you exhale, soften your tailbone downward toward the earth. Imagine an upside-down umbrella inside your ribcage. And as you inhale, let the umbrella open and expand. As you exhale, notice where you feel a sense of release, and even notice where you feel a bit stuck. Try to notice without needing to fix or judge. As you inhale, let the breath fill you on its own accord, as though the breath pours into you and you simply watch it expand you. Notice areas that resist that expansion, and again, let go of trying to force the breath anywhere that isn't ready to open. The next time you exhale, notice how the shoulders can drop. The rib cage softens downward. The belly falls lightly inward. As you inhale, feel your breath moving towards your feet or seat, as well as upward to the crown of your head. As you exhale, feel as though your heart relinquishes its burdens. As you inhale, feel the vessel of your body being filled with energy and lightness. As you exhale, feel a softening, yet a grounding of your feet into the earth. I invite you to continue in this restorative, mindful cycle of breathing as you continue in your own private prayer. You can continue to focus on the nature of your mind cycle and or engage with the readings on the slide or your program. As Amidah begins with remembering our ancestors, our mothers and fathers, our readings tonight give voice to the feminine voice in the ancient poetry of the Song of Songs. The poetry continues through time, offering women's voices and expression into the women of the future.
לב טהור ברא לי אלוהים, ורוח נכון חדש בקרבי. אל תשליכני מלפניך, ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממני. אל תשליכני מלפניך, ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממני. השיבני ששון אישך ברוח נדיבה, תשמחני. השיבני ששון אישך ברוח נדיבה, תשמחני. אדוני שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. אדוני שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. אדוני שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. תשמיעני ששון ושמחה ורוח נדיבה, תשמחני. תשמיעני ששון ושמחה ורוח נדיבה, תשמחני. לב טהור ברא לי אלוהים, ברוח נכון חדש בקרבי. ופי יגיד תהילתך. עושה שלום במרומם, הוא יעשה שלום, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, יעשה שלום עלינו. ועל כל
We continue with our Torah service. Please rise.
tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight. One woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. When Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe.
her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her, just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dancing all night long. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dancing all night long.
Okay. So after last year, we had to put a pause on the Rishonim program because of COVID. It was a terrible loss for us on so many levels. For a few years, it has become the custom of the Shabbat Shirah program to honor women who have never before in their lives chanted Torah from the scroll. It is truly unfathomable to the mind of the 21st century to capture that in Israel today, women still have to fight and encounter active adversity in order to be able to chant Torah publicly. By some, it is viewed as shameful and forbidden. It is still hard to change this reality in Israel. Much progress has been made in the last 20 years, but extremism is still present, and we must do everything we can to change it. So to make a public statement for equality for women to worship freely, to chant from the scroll, and to own the stories of our people, it is my deepest honor to invite these courageous Israeli women to chant from our scroll for the first time, and certainly not the last. They will be our honorees for the Aliyah tonight. And then we will, of course, hear the verses from the Song of the Sea by all of our wonderful women chanters as well. And so I call on all of you who are all here at this time. תעמודנה הנשים, ליה בת אורית ותמר בת יפה לעלייה לתורה. המיקרופון בבקשה. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. אמן.
ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לאדוני ויאמרו לאמור, השיר לאדוני כי גאוקה סוס ורחבו רמה בים, עוזי בזיבנתיה ויהי לי ישועה, זה לי וינבאו אלוהי אבי וארוממנו. Adonai ish milchama, Adonai shemo.
מרכבו פרעה, וחילו ירה בים, ומבחר שלישיו טובו וימסו. תהומות יחסיומו, ירדו במצולות ימינך אדוני נדרי בכוח, ימינך אדוני תירץ אויב.
וברוב גאונך תהרוס קמך, תשלח חרונך, יאכל לאמוק הקש. וברוח אפיך נערמו מים, ניצבו חמונת נוזלים, קפו תהומות בלב ים.
אמר אויב, ארדוף אשיג אכלל שלל, תמלא המון נפשי אריק חרבי תורישמו ידי. נשבת ורוחך כיסמו ים, צללו כעופרת במים אדירים.
מי כמוך בעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תחילות אוסף אלה. נטית ימינך, תבלעמו ארץ, נחית והסתך, עמזו גאלת, נחלת והסתך, אל נווה קודשך.
שמעו עמים ירגזון, חילחז יושבי פלשת, אז נבהלו אלופי אדום, אלי מואב יוחזמו רעד. נמוגו כל יושבי כנען. תיפול עליהם אימתה ופחד, בגדול זרוע ידמו כאבן, עד יעבור עמך אדוני, עד יעבור עמזו קניתה. תביאמו ותתאמו בהר נחלתך, מכון לשבטך. פעלת אדוני מקדש, אדוני כוננו ידיך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. קיווה סוס פרעה ברכבו ובפרשיו בים, וישב אדוני עליהם את מי הים, ובני ישראל הלכו ביבשה בתוך הים. ותיקח מרים הנביאה אחות אהרון את התוף בידה, ותצאנה כל הנשים אחריה בתופים ובמחולות. ותן להם מרים, שירו לאדוני כי גאו גאה, סוס ורוכבו רמה בים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו את תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. blessing for all of you. This night, we are blessed and we bless one another. For all those who have chanted Torah and those who have risen to be blessed in the presence of Torah, I offer this blessing. We are blessed as a Jewish community and a human community facing new and old struggles. May God, who blessed our fathers and mothers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, grant courage, resilience, and healing to all who have risen here tonight to be blessed in the presence of Torah. May God give you patience and hope and courage, and may you feel restored to vigor of body and mind. May God endow you with a full life, with good health and love. May you know joy and gratitude. And together we say, Amen, amen. Thank you. And now, it is my greatest honor to bless our Benot Mitzvah this evening, Tamar Reshef and Leah Heller. Please forgive me as I take a very brief moment to speak in Hebrew, the language of our people and the language of these people, who I'm about to and honored to bless tonight. תתקרבו אליי, שנייה שאני לא אסתכל עליו. הדבר הראשון שעלה לי לראש הוא המשפט, כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, והעיקר לא לפחד כלל. זה בדיוק התאים לי לחוויה שלפניכן. אתן הגשר הצר, כי האחריות והעבודה הקדושה המונחת על כתפיכן, ואתן נושאות את האחריות הכבדה עם כוח בלתי סופי, עם חריצות מופלאה. כל כך חשוב היה לי לומר מילים בשפת המקור של העם היהודי, שפת כתבי הקודש של העם והשפה הביתית שלכן ושלי. חשוב לי לציין שלקחתן על כתפיכן הרוחנית הרחבה מעמסה לא פשוטה ולא קלה. וחשוב לציין שלקחתן צעדים אמיצים קדימה, ללמוד וללמד ולהמשיך לנהל שיח חשוב ומציל עם. תודה רבה לכן שהסכמתן לעמוד כאן היום יחד איתי, להשתתף יחד איתי בקידום המטרה של כולנו. אני מאושרת לברך אתכן בקרב הקהילה היהודית העולמית הענפה והעשירה. The short translation is that Tamar and Leah have taken on the important role of bridging culture through teaching and dialogue. They have both been tremendous learners and teachers who bring their talent forth courageously and diligently. So it is my honor to say a blessing in honor of your first Aliyah LaTorah. I and our community at Temple B'nai Or feel immense gratitude and joy that you have taken steps that should not be taken for granted or lightly. You have stepped forward with tremendous courage and vulnerability to stand where it may have been said that you couldn't or that you shouldn't. In doing so, you have, are, and will continue to pave the path for other women who will follow in your footsteps. May you be blessed with endless good health of body, mind, and heart. May you be strengthened knowing that you are embraced and admired by so many. Your resilience, your diligence, your professionalism, your creativity, your energy is present. May you be blessed with these very virtues that you hold within you for all of your days. You have inspired me with your dedication and your stories. May you continue to share them and add to them. May you be able to soften your hearts in forgiveness towards yourself when it's necessary and know that the brokenness needs to be acknowledged and accepted. אני הולכת לעשות את זה בנקבה. פעם ראשונה בחיים שלי. יברככן אדוני וישמרכן. יאר אדוני פניו אליכם ויחונכם. יישא אדוני פניו אליכם וישם לכם shalom. May you be blessed. May you be safe. May you be luminous. May you be loved. May you be joyous. May you be whole. Amen. תודה רבה. Can we have an improvised Shechianu? Together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה custom in the presence of the scroll, in the presence of Torah, to ask for blessings of healing. So at this time, it is our Shabbat Shira Minhag custom at this moment to ask the source of blessing for healing. To hear yet another reflection, another personal brave story of a woman who is coping with illness, taking care of someone who is ill or has survived illness. As I speak now, there are so many of you, names and faces I recall, that I've been humbled to stand with through so much vulnerability and resilience. All of you are in my heart at this time. We pray together for healing with words of prayer set forth by a modern-day prophetess, Debbie Friedman, a composer, songwriter, leader of song, just like our biblical hero, Miriam. Debbie Friedman, in a fateful prophecy, died on this Shabbat, Shabbat Shira, 11 years ago. Her leadership and soul are with us through her music. In remembering her, we remember the biblical Devorah, a prophetess from the book of Judges. Devorah is a wise woman who guided the Israelites while sitting in the shade of a palm tree. She is read and studied as this week's Haftarah portion. She gave counsel and strength to the Israelites and prophesied to the people of Israel who would come to her for guidance and healing. We evoke her memory as a symbol of well-being and wellness. May her story be told in generations to come and be a source of strength for us in our lives. May we feel grounded by the story of Devorah, taking from her strength and her creativity into our modern-day lives. In honoring her, we honor our ancestors. Let us bring her into our prayers for healing and invoke her memory for strength and resilience. It is our custom to think of the people who are in need of healing. So I invite you, I don't have a computer, so if you're putting them in the chat, please, thank you very much. But I have the list here of the people we're thinking of here: Peter Adamson, Madeline Benjamin, Larry Benson, Margot Blaustein, Claudia DeJesu, Nicholas DeJesu, Gordon Blick, Harriet Goldstein, Lena Hammer, Oliver Horn, John Houston, Sheila Carner, Leon Curlin, Joseph Lupkin, Lori Mazzarella, Reese Osmond, Judy Ragona, Bert Reinfleisch, Eileen Reinfleisch, Karen Russo, Don Rubin, Gail Rush, Jerry Shacker, Buddy Scott, Eileen Scott, Bernice Zide, Alan Silverstein, Gilbert Simon, Glenn Swatinsky, Howard Taradash, Marjorie Van Dow, Allison Rosenfogel, Lisa Wolper, Edie Weinstein, and Julie Weinstein. Together.
Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
Invite Hallie to lift up the Torah. Please rise.
Vezot haTorah asher שם משה לפני בני ישראל, אבי אדוני ביד משה. 17 and mama still, people whisper around her. I'm expected to be brave, I say I'll try. The day before my graduation, I watched her die. Gathered in the living room, relatives and neighbors, I expected to stand up and chant the prayer. But the women were forbidden, which felt so unfair. Count me in the minion, yes, I know the law, 10 men, 10 men. Please don't explain that to me again. She's been my closest friend since I was born. And now, Daddy, I just need to mourn. Please let me stand next to you. Let me say a prayer. But laws can't be broken. Prayed without me, as if I weren't there. Mother nudged me every day. Ruth, you're smart, keep reading. Not many gifts, new cottage, I was one of the few. But the faith that I was born with didn't care what I knew. Count me in dominion, yes, I know the law, 10 men, 10 men. Please don't explain that to me again. She's been my closest friend since I was born. And now, Daddy, I just need to mourn. Please let me stand next to you. Let me say a prayer. But laws can't be broken. They prayed without me, as if I weren't there. As if I weren't there. As if I weren't there. The daughter's voice is quiet at the moment it should be heard. יתגדל ויתקדש שמר הבא. I have tried to be the person who my mother saw, who my mother saw.
I immediately teared up when I read the cantor's email asking if I would feel comfortable talking about my brother Nathaniel tonight. It's been over 10 years since he died, but in many ways still feels very raw. It happened just a few months after my husband and I moved to this part of New Jersey with our daughter, who was just under a year old. I grew up knowing well how fragile life is. My dad's parents were Holocaust survivors and lost many family members. My dad was born in a displaced persons camp in Europe after World War II. My mom's life was impacted by many losses, and on and on. I grew up with grief and loss being a part of life, knowing that everything is tremendously fragile, that the other shoe could drop at any moment. I'm sure this is part of why I've always loved comedy and love laughter and finding the funny and silly in life. I was 12 when my youngest brother Nathaniel was born and felt he was my baby. I was the oldest and he was the youngest of 4. In fact, there were many times I'd be walking him in his stroller down West 97th Street in Manhattan, and strangers would ask if he was my child. He was a month-old newborn at my bat mitzvah. I loved playing with him, caring for him, picking him up from school. Nate, or Ellie, as we called him when he was little, was adorable, hilarious, generous, kind, warm, and smart. He had long periods of insecurity in elementary school
and high school, but he was really coming into his own in the last couple of years of his life. He loved to dance. He loved art and loved music. He was always engaged in community service and volunteered with sick children in a hospital. He taught himself guitar and how to draw. He loved exercise, basketball, and comedy also. As a kid, he accidentally recorded basketball games over old family VHS movies, which irritated me years ago, but now just makes me laugh. He loved toasted challah rolls, and when he was small, only the outside of onion rings. He helped me learn to parallel park. If you were sitting alone, he would walk over, introduce himself, and make you feel comfortable. He held the door for countless people. Sometimes this would make us laugh because he would hold the door for so long that he couldn't exit a building. He was everyone's biggest cheerleader. He went above and beyond for others. He was generous to a fault. His smile was infectious, and he had the most positive attitude. When he died, we received letters and emails from professors, students, the dorm housekeepers, the dorm security guards. Everyone knew who he was, and everyone loved him. When I went to his gym to close out his account after he died, everyone there knew him as well. To know him was to love him. Although I grew up with loss being a normal part of life, I never expected the sudden loss of a sibling in an accidental drowning. He was 21. To say it was shocking would be an understatement. It pulled the rug out from under me. I have deep regrets for all the times I could have reached out to my little brother with an extra phone call, extra care packages and letters I could have sent, all the ways I could have supported him, my 12 years younger baby brother, but was too preoccupied with my own life, having a newborn, financial worry, having moved far away. I heard a quote once that urged us to treat everyone we meet as if we knew they would die tomorrow. This is both essential and also impossible. Before Nate died, I had just moved back to the area, had a 10-month-old, was settling into a new town again. All we can do is our best and keep in our minds how fleeting and precious this all is, and try to remember what's really important. Despite 15 years of Jewish day school education, many years of Jewish summer programs, majoring in religion in college, having a very Jewishly connected family, there was still something I did not get until the death of my brother. When he died, we all fell apart, but the communities around us sprung to action. There are set rules for what needs to happen following a death in the family. There was such comfort in being taken care of and in knowing what to do at different times, sharing your clothing, the timing of and what to do at the funeral, which blessings to say, the rules surrounding the Shiva. I knew I didn't want to do all the things, but if I had wanted to, I knew what I was supposed to do. And for me, there was great comfort in that. This is one thing I really love about Judaism. This week's Parsha, Bishalach, is also about a transformation. It's about adapting to change and about having the faith and courage to persevere during a profoundly difficult time. While my brother's death was not a transition from slavery to freedom, as it was for the Jewish people in Bishalach, it was a transition in learning how to live in and accept a new reality and be grateful for the gifts that we have. The generation of Jewish people who were freed from Egypt knew only slavery. Being free was a completely different life and reality that, despite being a positive change, they initially reacted to with bitter complaints, which were probably manifestations of the terror they felt in this new unknown. Chapter 14, verse 12, it is better that we should serve Egypt than that we should die in the wilderness. Chapter 16, verse 2, the entire assembly of the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. They may have had friends among the Egyptians that they left behind, and only now is it obvious that the transition was important somehow. Many of us have these significant before and after moments. I think about and miss my brother every day. Life before 2011 and life after. After Shiva ends, you are forced to walk around the block to return to life. Judaism recognizes that we face major changes in our lives and the challenges and importance in learning how to adapt to the changes. It forces us to directly confront reality and to keep moving forward. In Beshalach, we crossed the water and started life anew. It's not that the mourning stops or that the memory leaves us, but we learn how to adjust and how to live, how to persevere one day at a time, how to be grateful for what we have and not take anything for granted, to use the unavoidable pain and loss that we all will endure at some point to become better people, to have faith even through the unknown, through the transitions in this life. We hold on to our beautiful and painful memories of the past, but also move forward and on to the fresh joys, laughter, and song of the present.
This time, our thoughts turn to those of us who are no longer with us. In the period of Shloshim, we think of Janice Gewertz, Jerome Stoloff, and Gail DeLong. And it is now with Shabbat, the yard sites of Pauline Barth, Nelson R. Bernstein, Rosamund Taub Hubert, Gary Daniels, Louis Devon, Sherman Diamond, David H. Ellis, Evangeline Fernandez, Erwin Gewertz, Irving Golden, Percy Gorin, Bertha Grinnick, Barbara Holstein, Helen Jacobs, Morris Jeweler, Leslie Cooperstein, Esther Lass, Anthony Lubau, Rose Lupkin, Isidore Margolius, Donald Piermont, Jenny Geisen Prince, Melvin Rosenberg, Sylvia Frey Ross, Mary Rossman, Paul Ruslin, Roberta Schwartzman, Maxwell Schaefer, Marvin Spiegel, Charles Steinberg, Beatrice Teich, William Tersey, Rose C. Wexler, and George Yampolsky. Please rise as we chant the Kaddish Yatom on page 294.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayichon uvyomechon uv'chayei zechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shmei d'kudusha richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, ta'amiran ba'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Vaseh shalom v'imama, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
And so to conclude the service and to thank all the wonderful women who led us tonight, I invite all of my participants tonight to come up and join us for Kiddush. Everybody can sing together. Kulam. Amy, you too. Everybody. I want to thank Josh, but I always forget to thank you. He's not a woman. And I want to thank Mark. And I'm so thankful to all of you, incredible women. Don't want to cover it up. Let's sing it. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai.
תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. עמנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל עמים. אהבת קודשך ואהבה ורצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. וואלה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא שבת שלום. שבת שלום, מזל טוב, תודה רבה. Thank you, thank you, thank you.